The Dust Bowl. Dust Bowl started in 1933, which caused much trouble. Some of the causes for the Dust Bowl were too much plowing, farming, and grazing had worn away the earth. Little rain fell during the early 1930s, which caused a drought that would last 8 straight years and made it hot and windy outside, which left the crops to dry and only bare dirt was left. Winds picked up and caused the dirty 30s. Even static charges in the air shorted out automobiles on the road. Most people just moved to the west and others stayed but suffered and had to wear gas masks and bandanas. To stop the Dust Bowl, Congress planted 100 miles of trees to stop the ground from erosion. Wind is the main cause of erosion in deserts. There are few plants to hold the dry dirt in place. Wind blows away loose sand and dry dirt. A section of the Great Plains of the United States that extended over southeastern Colorado, southwestern Kansas, the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and northeastern New Mexico. The term Dust Bowl was suggested by conditions that struck the region in the early 1930s. The area's grasslands had supported mostly stock raising until World War I, when millions of acres were put under the plow in order to grow wheat. Following years of cultivation and generally poor land management in the 1920s. The region, which receives an average rainfall of less than 20 inches in a typical year, suffered a severe drought in the early 1930s that lasted several years. The region's exposed topsoil, robbed of anchoring, water-retaining roots of its native grasses, was carried off by heavy spring winds. Black blizzards of wind-blown soil blocked out the sun and piled the dirts and drifts. Occasionally, the dust storms swept completely across the country to the east coast. Thousands of families were forced to leave the region at the height of the Great Depression in the early and mid-1930s. Thousands of farmers and farm workers left Oklahoma to seek a better life elsewhere. In its original state, the region was covered with hardy grasses that held the fine-grained soil in place, in spite of the long recurrent droughts and occasionally torrential rains characteristic of the area. The organic matter, clay and silt in the soil, were carried great distances by the winds, in some cases darkening the sky as far as the Atlantic coast, and sand and heavier materials drifted against houses, fences, and barns. In many places, 3 to 4 inches of topsoil were blown away. The Dust Bowl refers to the southern Great Plains of the United States, where the dust storms swept across the land during the 1930s, extending approximately 400 miles from north to south and 300 miles from east to west. The Dust Bowl encompassed southeastern Colorado, northeastern New Mexico, western Kansas, and the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. End credits for the Dust Bowl. Presenter Austin Marshall. Script Daniel Hamblin. Slide Maddie Floyd. Pictures Tori Hammondtree. Research Chloe Sims. Information found on www.pbs.org/Ken Burns/The Dust Bowl.